Hey everybody, the challenge continues this week. We're talking about taking it to the next level. Maybe you have some weak spots in your life, some personal ceilings that you've never been able to get past. Maybe you wish you were more influential. Maybe you wish you were better at loving people. Maybe you wish you were a better mom or a dad, or maybe you were wishing you're a more spiritually powerful person. You're the kind of person that people would come to for help or hope or peace or something like that. No matter what it is, we're talking about going through the frustration of that sense that you just can't get past it. And what do you do? How do you get past it? How do you move on to the next level? So I want to ask you a question. What if there was a way that could take you past where you've been before, but it was going to cost you something more than it has before? It was going to cost you something more than you've spent on it in the past. And I just want you to imagine for a moment what that cost might look like to you. Is it spending something? Is it putting all of your time in a place? Is it making yourself vulnerable, in some way that you've never made yourself vulnerable with people? What is that cost? I want to talk this morning about a word that scares most people off as soon as they hear it. And you'll know exactly what I'm talking about as soon as I say it. Maybe it doesn't scare you. If it doesn't scare you, that means you know exactly what this word is all about. But if it does scare you, I actually want you to keep listening even more, because I don't think you really understand what this word is about. If it's scary to you, you need to keep listening. Here's the word. You ready? It's sacrifice. That's right, sacrifice. Yeah, I think some of you are rolling your eyes or getting ready to X out and go find something else to watch right now as soon as I spoke that word, because it makes most people cringe. When we hear the word sacrifice, we think pain, we think cost, we think hurt, we think blood. Maybe you're picturing animals in the Old Testament times or something. Most of sacrifice in our mind is about pain and suffering and hurt and just sadness. It's a sad word. It's a hard word. But I think if you think those things about the word sacrifice, you may be missing it. And you may have something right in front of you that is just waiting to happen, waiting for you to prioritize it. And it's just not being done because you're scared off the idea of it. And it could be the very thing that is holding you back from making it to the next level. So that's what I want to talk about this morning. I'm going to take you to a place in Matthew chapter 17. Jesus has, of course, his disciples with him, his young men. He's training them to be spiritual leaders, spiritual authorities, to go out and do the very things that he's been doing, to speak the same message that he's been carrying. And he's been all over the hill and dale with these guys, and they've been doing some of the same things that he's been doing. He's actually released them to start acting on his behalf and use their spiritual power and their faith and their words and give and everything that Jesus has been doing. And in Matthew 17, he gets to this place where it says a multitude of people. In Matthew 17, a multitude of people have come up to Jesus. And that's what happens anywhere that Jesus goes, or is even rumored to be. Multitudes at this point are coming to find out if they can get some help or just see Jesus do what he's been rumored to do. And Jesus is actually putting it on his disciples to help do the ministry at this point, like I said. And these guys have no reason not to believe that Jesus wants to make them into these powerful world changers. He's told them the same thing. He's told them in John 14:12, he tells them, I'm telling you, he who believes in me, the things I do, he will do also, and even greater. So if you believe in me, you'll be able to do these things. And in fact, more types of things, more things, maybe even more impressive things at times. Whatever he means by that, he means more. More. Just remember that. More. These guys have every reason to believe inside that they're meant for something more, to take it to the next level. And so Jesus is standing in front of a multitude, and Matthew writes, a man came up to him, falling on his knees before him, and saying, Lord, have mercy on my son, for he has terrible seizures and is very ill. He often falls into the fire and often into the water. And I brought him to your disciples, and they couldn't cure him. That's a dramatic moment right there. A father falling to his knees in front of someone on behalf of his son. On behalf of his son, who he constantly has to have an eye on. Can't turn around for a moment without something possibly terrible happening. And he's burned himself, he's nearly drowned, and he's done both of these things over and over and over again. And for whatever reason, the disciples just can't help him. And Jesus, in this moment, you could hear his frustration. And it's not with the Father, it's actually with his disciples. He says, unbelieving people, how long will I be with you? How long will I put up with you? Bring him here to me. Matthew 17:17. Bring him here to me. And Jesus gets rid of the demon. That's actually the problem. Jesus casts a demon out. I don't know what your feelings are about demons, but it's written here. Matthew said Jesus cast out a demon. Then the boy was cured at once. Matthew 17:18. Cured at once. And after all of that, Matthew wrote, they came to Jesus privately and asked, why couldn't we do it? How come? How come we couldn't do it? And his answer doesn't seem helpful at all first, but you want to hear what's in this answer. He says, because of how small your faith is. Because of how small your faith is. And then he gives them this little reminder. It's something he's told them before. He says, if you have faith like a mustard seed, just the teeniest, tiniest little grain, little shred of faith. If you have faith like a mustard seed, you shall say to this mountain, move from here to there, and it shall move, and nothing shall be impossible to you. Nothing shall be impossible to you. Now, I know what you're thinking. Great. Somebody's just telling me I need to have more faith. Great. But Jesus doesn't leave it there. He says, yeah, if you start out with a tiny little bit of faith, impossible things aren't impossible anymore. Actually, everything becomes possible through your faith. And you need to hear that. You need to hear that. You need to hear that the thing that you're dealing with, the ceiling that's on your leadership, the ceiling that's on your spiritual abilities, the ceiling that's on your fatherhood, your motherhood, your ability to manage your finances wisely, the ceiling, even though it's impossible, it's actually not impossible. It's impossible for you, sure, but now with Christ through the Father, he says, actually the impossible has just become possible. It takes a small shred of faith, real faith at the beginning, but it becomes possible. And then he says a scary word. Now I want you to hear this word. You ready? He says, but. Nothing shall be impossible to you, but. He said, this kind does not go out except by prayer and fasting. Wait a minute, Jesus. You just said nothing, absolutely nothing's impossible if I just have a little tiny bit of real, just honest faith that God cares, that he wants to do something, that he can do something. Okay, that will make everything possible. But Jesus says, there's something about this that makes it a next level challenge for you. It's a next level thing. There's something tricky about this kind. There's something special about this kind. It's a next level thing. And the only way that you can tackle this next level challenge is by doing this next level thing I'm talking about. This prayer and fasting. Now, prayer is one thing. Prayer, these guys knew about prayer. They'd seen Jesus pray. Jesus taught them to pray. They were trying to style their own conversations with God like they'd seen through Jesus. They were praying people. They'd been taught to pray since they were little kids. They'd been trained well. You know, there were certain times, and they were religious prayers. I mean, they prayed during certain times a day. They never missed a time. They knew about prayer. But Jesus is talking about a next level kind of prayer called prayer and fasting. And when people hear the word fasting, they think about the idea of not eating as sacrifice, because they think, oh, I'm going to sort of like punish myself, and it's going to be a sign of my devotion to God, and so I'm going to kind of earn something extra from God, and that's what's going to take this to the next level. And actually, it's really not quite like that. Actually, prayer and fasting is prayer that goes to a depth and goes to a level that it just crowds out anything else that isn't absolutely positively necessary. Prayer and fasting is like praying at a level where you say, okay, the thing that I need victory in is so important. I'm gonna throw overboard anything that I don't absolutely have to do just to stay alive in order to keep praying. So in other words, I'll drink some water, but I'm not going to spend time prepping food. I'm not even going to spend time eating food. I'm not going to be walking to the market, get anything from the fridge. I'm so focused about getting either an answer from God or a result. I don't have time to do anything that isn't absolutely positively necessary. That's a next level investment to break through to a next level place. And that's what Jesus is telling these young men they have to do in order to get to the next level they want to get to. They were so disappointed. They were embarrassed to even ask him in public. They wanted to go in private. How come we couldn't do it? Were we supposed to do it? Jesus doesn't tell them, "Oh, you're never meant to go to that level." He says, "No, actually, anything is possible. You're supposed to believe for being able to do wild things like this. But here's the thing: it's a next level challenge. You've got to take your level of investment to the next level too." Wow. See, Jesus is talking about a sacrifice. And it's not a sacrifice of blood necessarily. It's not a sacrifice of physical pain. But he's talking about the kind of sacrifice that actually every person makes at some point in their life, just for different reasons. Sacrifice in the end isn't really about pain. It's not really about cost, exactly. It's not really about harm or sadness. Sacrifice is really not much more than spending what you have in order to get what you most want or need. That's what sacrifice is. It's getting downright intentional and going after the thing that you know will take you to the place that you desperately want to get to. That's what sacrifice really is all about. And everybody sacrifices at some point. As long as you know that you've wanted something very, very badly in the past and you knew there was only really one way to get it. Maybe you just had your eye on your favorite gaming system or building your own PC. I know my cameraman is listening to me right now because he loves this stuff. You've always wanted to build that awesome thing, and there's really just no way to get there except to spend a couple or $3,000 on it. It's really the only way that takes you there. You didn't have a problem sacrificing to get to that thing. You found out what it took, and you put it together, and you went after it, and other things got the leftovers, okay? Maybe you're great at budgeting, and it didn't harm you in any way, but you realized what it took, and you went after it, and you didn't question the cost. You just questioned what it took, and you delivered. You got it. You went after it. And it took you to where you wanted to go. That's what Jesus is teaching his disciples about. If you want to make it to the next level, it takes a next level kind of sacrifice to get to that place. A next level of spiritual investment in where you want to be. Now, maybe you're thinking about places that you wish you had peace in your life. Maybe that's your ceiling. Maybe that's the place you've never quite been able to break through. Maybe you're looking at places you wish you could have more power. Just like the disciples, you wish you could be more helpful to people. You could pray and someone would get some supernatural help. Maybe you wish your decisions were better, your relationships were healthier. Maybe you wished you were a stronger leader at home or a stronger leader in the workplace. I don't know what it is that you want your next level to look like. But chances are good you're sensing some frustration inside about that. And you want to go, but you're questioning, how do I make it there? And here's the thing. You can probably think back different times in your life where people tried to kind of push things on you and teach you about things you were supposed to do to be better at life, or a better person, or healthier, or something. Especially if you have any church experience. You know, you probably heard lots of well-meaning preachers out there, telling you really need to be a giver. You really need to, fellowship. You really need to get transparent with people and read the Bible, read the gospel for yourself. Remember some key verses. You need to, serve. You need to get involved. And it's a lot like what I would call spiritual broccoli or spiritual Brussels sprouts. It's supposed to be good for you, but really that's not enough inspiration to actually go after it and do it. It's just not very inspiring to have somebody tell you you're supposed to do this because you're supposed to do this. And what I'm going to tell you right now, maybe it's going to make somebody mad, it really isn't a good enough reason to do something, just to have somebody tell you because you're supposed to. But if you have that sense of frustration right now, you're actually in the perfect spot to move on to the next level. You need to harness that. That's what I'd tell you this morning. You got to harness that and capture that. This is the perfect opportunity. Because I don't know about you, but for me, knowing that I'm supposed to do something really isn't enough. Yeah, I should be like this kind of a person. I guess. That rarely does anything for me. I rarely ever make a change because somebody tells me I should. That it's the right thing to do, the Christian thing to do. It's really not enough for me. I think most of you are probably human like me in that way. What I'm telling you is there's really nothing like realizing that one of the things that you most want to break through and see victory in, there's really only one way through to that next level that you're after. There's really only one way, and it takes a next level sacrifice to get there. When I was first married, my wife and I didn't have kids yet. We had a little more margin in our budget, I guess you could say, and we looked around, and we were involved in the church. We had lots of opportunities to give, and we did give, but we didn't give crazy, and so I'd been grown up in a kind of a background where frugality was important. Save. You want to save. You want to be smart. You want to be wise. And totally believe that it is. I think people should save money, absolutely. And take right now, for instance. I think this is a good reminder of why a person should save a little money and have some margin in their budget. But we had that, and at the same time, I had kind of a conviction that I should give a little more. I should do something. I should be more generous. I just felt like kind of selfish in my heart. I mean, maybe other people wouldn't have guessed that, but I kind of felt that about myself, and it would kind of bubble up and come back from time to time. Yeah, I really could give something more. I should give something more. I should practice more generosity. Maybe you don't know what I'm talking about, but that was my thing. And I didn't really make much of a change. I talked to people about it sometimes. It really wasn't enough. And I read about it. Still wasn't enough. And then I traveled somewhere. It was an opportunity to go on a trip out of the country. I went out of the country, and I was placed in front of people who had really zero means to do anything about some of their medical issues. Talking about orphans, people who lost their parents, young people, 4-year-olds, 5-year-olds, you name it. Any kind of kid you can imagine. I probably saw one of those kinds of kids where I went. And it was when I saw kids in front of me who desperately needed some kind of help. That was really the moment. That was really the moment when I realized these people need help. And really, there's only one way, one thing that they need. They actually need somebody to sponsor and take care of a certain bunch of needs so that they can live and keep going through school and make it so that they can work for themselves someday and be able to make a living and raise a family. And that was one of the moments in my life that really sparked a change, inspired something. I just realized they need a certain amount. And when I realized it was a real person in front of me, and that person had a name, and they were young, and they were vulnerable, and I saw what they needed. I didn't think about the cost. I didn't think about what it would cost me later on when I got home if I made a commitment to take care of one of these kids. It really wasn't anything to me at all. It wasn't a thought. I just knew what was needed, and that was enough for me. That was it. It was easy then to make that sacrifice. Maybe not even easy, but it was so doable. It was so possible. And I broke through an area that I hadn't been able to break through any time before. It may be very much the same for you. You may need to look that frustration that you have dead in the face, dead in the eye, and say, all right, what investment does it take? What is the thing that I've been needing to do that will take me through this ceiling that I've been struggling against for so long? What is it? What is it for you? If you're at that next level of frustration this morning, I'm challenging you to just take all of that frustration, stare it dead in the face, let it just overwhelm you with how frustrating it is. And then remember, Jesus said, all things would be possible. If they're impossible now, with Him they become possible. But, as Jesus said, but, it may be time that you made the next level investment, sacrifice, to power through and watch how God takes you on in your faith, in your relationships. I don't know exactly what your ceiling is. I don't know if it's a character problem. Maybe you're just riddled with anxiety and you're sick of it and you want to be this faith-filled, hopeful person. You just never get there. Maybe it's a leadership problem. You know, you believe you're supposed to lead and have influence where you are, your home, at work, at the church, and you just can't get past a certain level of leadership. Maybe you've got a fatherhood problem or a motherhood issue, and you're just so weak in a spot, and it just never gets better, and you just sense you're called to go further than you've been, but you just never seem to get there. Maybe you've got a burnout problem. You just don't know how to rest. Just never figured out how to rest, and you're always exhausted, always. Maybe you've got a financial wisdom problem. You're always late on payments. You've been getting behind. You owe on credit cards. Your spending just never seems to get under your grip. Whatever it is, I believe today is the day to stop thinking about the cost and start thinking about the investment that you believe you're supposed to make. And I'll go so far as to say you actually already have an idea what that investment is. Maybe not. Maybe not. Maybe there's some of you out there that just haven't spent that much time thinking about it yet. You just know you've got an issue. Maybe it's an addiction. Maybe it's a money thing. I don't know. But I'm telling you, I believe today is the day to stop questioning how much it could cost and zero in dead on the thing that you believe would take you closer to breaking through. Maybe for you, just like the disciples, it's a prayer thing. You need to take your prayer to the next level. You need to just get in front of God wherever you are and just stay there and just not give in to taking care of other things and just wait and pray and keep praying and pressing in and asking questions and waiting for answers until either you get an answer or you get a result, one of the two. Maybe it's a relational thing, a fellowship thing. Maybe you feel like the loneliest person in the world and you've been feeling unknown, isolated, like nobody gets you. And in the back of your mind, you've always thought, well, I suppose some of that's on me. I know, God actually wants me to reach out to people. And maybe your next level sacrifice isn't just going to a group or signing up for a group or doing a Zoom thing or just being present, but your next level investment is to actually put yourself out there and be really, really openly transparent and confess what your real weaknesses are and just open yourself up. Ask people for prayer. Ask people for what their advice is, their counsel, whatever it is. Maybe that's your next level of sacrifice. Maybe you have issues with money. You just can't seem to get your handle on it. Maybe you have issues with generosity, or maybe they're both mixed up, because they often are. Maybe your next level of sacrifice isn't just getting a budget or getting the sheets and trying to work through some of them and figure out what you owe. Maybe your next level of sacrifice is to actually get real focused on the need for you to be able to help. To look at the need that you see in your community, the need that you see in your church, and say, if I was able to give more, do more for this person or for this group, then they would be able to break through to their next level, and to get desperate about that and let that drive everything that you do in your finances. Maybe it's an influence thing, like I've said. And maybe you subtly know that in order to have more influence, there are certain things that you're going to have to break through and get into that you haven't been willing to break through before. Maybe you have a problem with actually following through and doing what you say you'll do. Maybe you have an issue with shooting your mouth off too quickly or reacting emotionally. And there are certain people that you need to seek out to get some perspective on those things and help you tune up your leadership, whatever it is. Maybe this is the time where you get frustrated enough and say, okay, I'm going to take that step because I know it's the only way through to the next level. That's what I'm challenging you to do this morning, is to consider not just how frustrated you are, but to consider what the next step really is, and ask yourself, is this the day? Is this the day I say it out loud and I declare I will take the step. I will take that step. I will invest all in until I get to that next level. Is this the day that you can do that? I believe for many it is. I believe for many it is. And I know that it's not easy to think about, because there is a cost. There are things that you won't do when you choose intentionally what you will do. But I would ask this, and it may help you. Just pretend for a minute that you're speeding ahead through the future into the last few years of your life. I don't know how you know that. It's pretend, okay? It's pretend world. You can pretend anything you want. And just pretend that this is the last year or two of your life. Things are closing up. You can do less. You got to be happy. Find a way to be satisfied with how things have gone and where you're at and what your future looks like in eternity. And I want you to imagine for a moment that things are exactly where they're at right now. Imagine that you never went an inch farther in your character than where you're at right now. Imagine you never went an inch farther as a parent than where you've been so far. Not even a little bit. Just stayed right where you are. What if you never went an inch farther in your leadership? Never influenced at a higher level than what you're currently at? Never made wiser decisions? Never became more spiritually able than you're at right now. Never was able to encourage people greater than you can encourage them right now. Never could do anything you can think of that's important better than you can. Are you happy with that? Is that a peaceful feeling? Or is it something else? I'll wager if it's something else, then you can find out what your next level of investment is. And take today to just declare it out loud, right where you are, right in front of God and everybody. Maybe you're in your living room and you want to have a conversation with your spouse or your kids or something else later. That's fine. But declare it out loud, right where you are, in front of God, with me, and ask Him to help you keep that level of commitment. I'm going to just bow my head right now. I can't see anyway, but I'm going to bow my head right now. You do the same where you are, and just join in this with me. Even if you're a little skeptical right now, you can just be respectful and bow down in your living room or your car, wherever you are, and just bow down and declare with me in this moment what your next level is and what you believe your next step is. Father, you know us at a level we can't imagine. You know us completely. You know every weakness. You know the strengths you've been working on. You know our past. You know the things that we're tempted to blame on other people and get caught up in. And you know the circumstances we face. You know how powerful they can be and how tempting things are to lose hope. And you know about all of these put together. You have a better understanding than anybody. And yet, in the face of all these, you say that nothing is impossible. Nothing is impossible. So I think right now, Lord, about the weakness that I've faced so many times. I know it should be better. I know you want to take me to a different place, but I just can't see how to get there the way I've been doing it. Father, I declare if there's a step that takes me to the next level, I want to take it. And if there's a level of investment that takes me to that place, then I want to make it. I want to know what it is, and I want to take it, and I want to keep it, and I want to make it. I want to be all in on it until you give me an answer, until you give me results. That's where I want to be. So I pray for the strength in this leap of faith to declare the sacrifice that I'm ready to make in order to break through and move on to the next level. I can't be satisfied with staying where I'm at, not growing an inch more. I can't. I won't do that. That's my declaration this morning. And I'm speaking on behalf of so many people watching out there now throughout the week. Here's the blank. And I'm letting them fill their blank with their personal weakness. They can put that in there right now. I know they're doing it. They know that they're doing it right now. And I just ask you, God, to honor their desire, Lord Jesus. Help them to see what will take them to the next level. If it's reading all the Gospels and asking questions until they get real answers, if it's actually jumping into a group or switching into a different group of people and connecting with those people and just putting themselves out there and learning how to trust people, if it's getting a hold of some book that might help, if it's praying in a way at a depth that they've never prayed at before and really prioritizing that in their lives and learning that as a new way of life. God, I pray that you'll honor their desire and make their next level possible. Open up the doors and reward their faith, Lord. Reward their faith and show them why you're worth asking. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Amen. I so appreciate you listening today. I'm going to continue this series for the next couple of weeks. Honestly, I don't know if it's going to be 1 or 2 weeks yet. It may even go further because I just realized there's a lot I've tapped into here, and there's a lot different stuff that we could cover, and I'm really thrilled about it. I want to get into it. But listen, if you think this message is helpful, then share it to somebody else because it might be helpful to them. Let us know where you're from, but talk to us. Send us some messages. We want to talk with you. We want to know what you're thinking. You can private message us. You can always go to our website, faithfellowshipwatertown.com, and fill out our little contact piece. It's so easy. There's no excuse not to, and we'll get you connected with a group of people. If you need a group of people and you haven't got one, that might have even been one of your prayers today. We want to sync you up with some people that are really, really be part of your life. You can share some of your life with and get honest and open with. We want to do that. If you're needing just better understanding, you got some questions about things. We love to answer questions. Send us a question. Send us a question, please. I'm begging you, send us a question. We love questions. We want to connect with you. So please do that. Share this message if you can. Listen, we're going to be continuing this series just like I said. And listen, if you have an idea for a series, we would love to hear what your idea is. I know, right? So send us those. We want to hear about those. You can comment what those ideas might be. You can private message them. You can send us to them in an email. Just go to our website. You'll find our email there. You can send it that way. We want to hear from you. Listen, I'm so thankful that you're with us. I'm praying for you. I am looking forward to the time when I can see a big group of people here again in person, actual faces and hands and handshake and all that stuff. We're not quite there yet. I'm not exactly sure when we'll be there. I know it's getting closer, but I'm praying for you in the meantime. I know it's getting frustrating and you're getting stir crazy, so am I. But God will guide you through this just like He has guided you through so many other things. We will meet again, and I'm looking forward to it. I'll see you.